Kei aku rangatira tēnei a Marae te oha tūnei ki a koutou I tēnei a rā tapu o te aranga. Ko te tūmana ko ia e tau iho ana ngā manaakitanga o te wānei ki runga I a koutou katoa. Kāti, Hawke's Bay is promising to overhaul its civil defence approach following a long-awaited review into the region's response to Cyclone Gabrielle. 8 people died, and the cyclone caused widespread damage across the Hawke's Bay region, including destroying homes and power outages that cut communities off for weeks.
Hawke's Bay just woke to absolute chaos. Everyone knew the storm was coming, but no one quite expected what happened today.
An independent review led by former Police Commissioner Mike Bush declared that the severity, speed and scale of the event overwhelmed officials.
It was compounded by communications outages, power outages, but there should be mitigations in place for such things.
The report stated CDEM staff were overconfident about their readiness when some members of the public, including mana whenua with deep knowledge of the behaviour of the region's waterways, phoned emergency management authorities with concerns about observable river levels, forestry or river maintenance. They were told they were overreacting or that plans were well in hand. Communications failures, lack of data and the speed, severity and extent of this event overwhelmed staff. They and their partners did some brave and innovative things. They also had significant blind spots and made some mistakes. But above all, they were simply overwhelmed. The report was also critical of the emergency response's interactions with mana whenua. So to discuss all this and the wider recovery of the rohe, I'm joined from Ahuriri by Ngāti Kahungunu's Bayden Barber. Nō reira, e te rangatira e te tuakana e mihi ana ki a koe. Tēnā koe I tō whakawātea mai I a koe.
Kia ora, tēnā koe, Scotty. E te rangatira, nā mihi ki a koe o tira kia koutou.
E hoa, pēha no whakaaro ki tēnei pūrongo ko puta ake nei. What's your response to the report?
He pai te pūrongo. He pai katoa ngā whakakitenga kei roto. I thought the report, very comprehensive, 9 Tier 1 recommendations, 66 Tier 2 recommendations, and I think all of it needs to be taken on board. So yeah, no, ko hari koa hau, ko whakaputa atu tēnei ripoata ki te whai au ki te Leigh-Marama.
He mea nui tēnā.
We've got a lot of work to do.
He mea nui tēnā kei te hari koa koe ki tēnei pūrongo. Te nui ngō te wā, ka puta he pūrongo. Ka re tātou e rata ana, ka re tātou e hari koa ana. But well, as a result of the report, what changes would you like to see?
Well, firstly, the report identifies issues at a national level, regional and at a grassroots level. But if I start nationally, Māori need to be part of the CDEM legislation. I tēnei wā kāre mātou I roto. Mena ka kimi koe te kupu Māori iwi hapu, kāre kau he pakuaha kei roto I tērā o ngā pire. So we've been talking and arguing with the government to ensure that Māori are in there. If we're not in there, we're going to be overlooked every single time this happens. So tuatahi rā, mātua rā ko tērā. And then when we come down to a regional level, ensuring that mana whenua are engaged at the pre-planning, at the recovery, at the response, at all parts of any major situation such as Gabrielle. We're not in the legislation and we need to be there.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koe. E hoa I whakahoki mai koe ngā kōrero ki te rohe. So what's the situation like in Ngāti Kahungunu at the moment and its marae in terms of the recovery process?
Well, it's a long, slow journey e hoa. Some of our marae are still as they were a year ago. If I think about Tāngoio, yep, we've moved a whole lot of silt in the last 12 months, but in terms of that marae, we still need to identify other land where that marae can move to. We still need to get agreement from hapu that that's what they want to do. They know they can't stay there, but the question is, ka haere rātou ki hea. And so, kei te kimi rātou I etahi whenua, he whakawātea mā rātou. But other marae are moving forward, other communities are moving forward. but we're going through a buyout process for communities, and that's going to take a long time and a lot of money. So, yep, we've gone through 1 year, but this will go on for a number of years before we completely recover.
What are the biggest challenges? Kare kore ko te whai whare, ne, mō ngā whānau I kāinga kore, I whare kore, ia Huripari Gabrielle.
Ai, tika tāhau, ko tahi tau, ko hipa nei mai te pātanga mai o te Huripari. Ka tai anō wētahi whānau, ka hoki mai ki o rātou nei kaingake. Some family, even after 1 year, have just returned home to their community. So it's been a year of whānau living at Marae. We have a couple of whānau still living at Oamahu, but we're working on housing solutions. So housing our people has been a really big challenge. We have over 100 temporary cabins, one and two bedroom cabins that we've been landing at Porangahau, Here Taunga Huriri and Te Wairoa. So on top of a housing crisis, you know, he mahi nui tērā. So yeah, but we're moving forward, and whānau are slowly getting into temporary shelter and are seeing some of their homes being repaired. But it's going to take a few years yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you do it, Bayden. You know, you've got so much going on in the rohe of Ngāti Kahungunu, and you've just supported Kingi Tūheitia's call, kia tū ngā hui taumata e pāna ki te kotahitanga, kia pai ai tā tātou waihanga urupare ki ngā mahi a te kāwanatanga ki a tātou. So hui taumata is going to be coming up soon in Ngāti Kahungunu. You're going to host it. Tell us about what that's going to be like and what's been going on to get that hui up and running.
Kia ora. Kua haere ke tātou te iwi Māori ki ngā huihuinga nui o te motu ki tūranga waiwai ki rātana ki Waitangi. I reira kōrero, kaha kōrero ai tēnei me te kotahitanga. We've talked about the why we need to unite, but we haven't realised the how. And so the hui taumata on the 31st of May at Oamahu is to start to look at the how we do it. What are the models, what are the proposals that we could look at to unify te iwi Māori? Because we know if we come together, that's a very powerful proposition. And, you know, he tai aniwha e kore tai te pāpuni, ko tātou era te iwi Māori. And so, ko tahitanga is something that Kahungunu has an intimate knowledge of. 1892, at Waipatu, ko te kotahitanga tērā, I hui ai, I reira, I tērā rautau. And so we want to take the lessons learned 200 years ago and to move that into 2024 horopaki. We think we can come together, and these series of hui will be where we actually discuss what that could look like. And so we're inviting te motu, thought leaders from ngā iwi katoa, but also some of our organisations, Māori Women's Welfare League, New Zealand Māori Council, e rā tūmomo ratonga, ke haere mai ki te kōrero, ki te tautohe nei tēnei me te kotahitanga.
Tēnā koe te rangatira, e mihi nui ana ki a koe, I o mahi katoa, I roto I ngā kaupapa huhua o te wā. Nō reira, e taku rangatira, Bayden Barber, e mihi ana a Marae ki a koe. Tēnā koe aha.
Tēnā koe, Scotty. Tēnā tātou.
Hoi nō rei te iwi, whakapiri mai anō rā ki tā tātou wānanga I tēnei rā. Te Tibble wants rangatahi Māori to know there's a future for them in the arts, and that success can be found both here at home and far from the shores of Aotearoa. She's about to head to America with her second book, Rangikura. Leigh-Marama McLachlan headed to Pōneke to meet the poet everyone's talking about.
My ancestors ride with me. They twerk on the roof of the Uber as I'm pulling up late to the party. They gas me full tank and yas me in the mirror as I summon them out of me with my mascara wands and glitter, and every time I draw my eyes on, Nana, you encourage me to keep my chin lifted upwards, my eyes filling up with stars.
Twerking in tupuna, voyaging in glitter. Writer Te Tibble paints a world that's hers.
Sometimes, I just want to party. My ancestors ride with me. Don't tell me what they would do. I know them better than you. Well, I do think it's like really important that we bring our old stories forward. That's kind of what we're here for and what we should be writing for. At the same time, I always think it's important to go the other way and tell our ancestors about what we're up to now. I feel like they like to hear what we're getting up to.
These days, it's writers' festivals, book signings and international book tours. At 29 years old, Tay's signature style is taking the lit world by storm.
She is the author of acclaimed poetry collections, Pōkahongatus, which won the Jessie Mackay Best First Book of Poetry Award. The legend that is Tay Tibble.
For me, growing up and also observing like my mother and my grandmother's life, I feel like it didn't really feel like our voices like mattered or that important. You didn't see it on the TV or the shows or the media that I was consuming. I didn't see us represented, and that kind of made me feel like maybe our stories didn't matter.
So in came Tay.
I've got a kōrero, just some stories for you guys, and a poem. And I remember seeing my nana and her eyes just lighting up, looking at all these trays, and she was eating, and she was like, at one point she was like, oi bub, can you go get us a paper towel? So I go, and I get her a paper towel and I come bring it to her, and then she's like, no, you need to go bring me the roll. So I'm like, okay, so I go to the kitchen, ask them for the roll, bring the roll back, and I kid you not, she starts wrapping up 1, 2, 3, 4 crayfish and just sticking them straight in her purse.
The coastie girl from Porirua is now Aotearoa's most internationally recognised poet, publishing her first book, Pōkahontas, at the age of 21.
It was pretty buzzy, I think, because, you know, I had just come out of school and then suddenly I had this book published by one of our mainstream publishers. I was getting a lot of mainstream press attention. It sold really well. I feel like it kind of set up the rest of my life. So I feel like my whole adult life has been really about publishing these books. That's the classic Aotearoa edition. It's the British one, it's like a little version.
British one?
Yeah, and here's Rangi Kura.
What does it feel like holding your own book?
It's really cool. Like, I just always wanted to like have a book when I was younger.
So excited to
Well, thank you so much.
I loved your follow.
You did?
Yeah.
In 2021, she released her second book, Rangi Kura, and landed publishing deals in the UK and the United States, where she recently toured.
Like, I remember the first time, like, not really understanding the significance, what was going on, who was who, what was what. It was pretty amazing, like, that whole New York literati scene, like, the soirees in these Manhattan apartments and meeting all these really famous writers. I was like, what am I doing here? I kind of felt like they probably weren't, they're really, really nice, but I kind of felt like they were like, who is this random kid from New Zealand? And I was like, I don't know.
Now she's living her best life.
Well, I saw Tay speak at Christchurch Word Festival a couple of years ago and really loved her poems about home and what home meant to her and about her family, and just really enjoyed her descriptions of place and her ancestors, but then also in really fun, kind of casual language.
Last year, her poem Creation Story was published in The New Yorker, putting Atua Māori on the pages of the prestigious magazine. She was the 4th New Zealander and first Māori ever featured.
Being the first Māori, I don't know, it was cool, and if someone had to do it, happy it was me, I guess. You know, I'm really proud to bring my Māoritanga to the world. At the same time, being the first in any situation has some degree of mamae, because I think of all the writers who have been left out and didn't get overlooked. Here's some kitten heels. It's like a showstopper kind of. Doesn't know what this match is worth, to be honest. Worry.
Tay is bold and unapologetic.
This one here has got quotes from my ancestors right with me. My style was definitely like another creative output or creative outlet. It does relate to my identity as being urban Māori, like kind of being in that setting. It was always about like looking fresh and looking fly and looking skark. I'm hotter than the sun, harder than a scrum of mountains.
She says modern Māori identities are just as valid as traditional ones.
These are my faves. I always say like, oh yeah, I'm like the child of 2 teenage breakdancers. And that kind of like, yeah. And like, I know for a fact that my mum, when she gave birth to me, she had like big hoops on. She didn't take them off. I feel like that's my origin story.
But it hasn't all been smooth sailing.
Probably the biggest challenge being in this industry and in these communities has probably come from like definitely a class difference and not feeling represented or contextualised amongst other riders. Even kind of among Māori riders, like I feel like there's not many riders that come from the same like urban and socioeconomic poverty, I guess, that I come from. I think it's just like, I don't know, a bit of silly push. I think it's silly pushback at sometimes, like kind of, like for example, the way that I kind of write with a sort of pidgin reo or things like that. Like I've been, no, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just like trying to spill the tea right now. Nah, tea, no, okay. But yeah, I've had like some like little accusations of things like you're bastardizing the Māori language. And just out the gate stuff like that, and it's like, I always feel okay writing about what I'm writing about, even if it is a bit different or not traditional, because I really do honestly feel like I have my ancestors' support.
But our ancestors left behind whole islands they loved. They kept on rolling forward until home became just another star on the horizon. This isn't to say that they never looked back and let their eyes fill with salty visions. The past is a place we can return to in any time. In a poem. Not me.
In April, she's off on another book tour in America. Venturing out like her ancestors, Tay keeps rolling forward.
It's really cool that these words can cross oceans and connect across oceans, and I feel like that's really, really important mahi, and I feel like that's kind of the mahi that I'm supposed to be doing now. So the more you honour yourself and honour your whakapapa and honour your ancestors, like the further you'll go, and I've really, really come to learn that and experience that.
Kia kaha koe e hoa, takahia te ara I whakaritea hei takahitanga mau. Te Kohe Tūhaka, one of New Zealand's leading filmmakers, has plans to put more Māori on screen while creating more work throughout the industry. Jodi Ihaka went to meet the stars of The Convert to talk about the pre-treaty past and the future of Māori in film.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Meet the Māori stars on The Convert publicity circuit at the swanky high-end Sugar Club at the top of Sky Tower. Te Kohe is wearing what looks like bush gears. Te Oriori is wearing House of G, Glassons.
Who is Te Oriori? Te Oriori is brave. Te Oriori is beautiful. Te Oriori is Ngāti Porou. Te Oriori is tūhoi. She is an actress, writer, director, doing her part in the world.
Te Oriori plays the part of Rangi Mai in the brutal, blood-soaked period film. She says she feels she was born for it.
Fight or you die.
We die.
How deep did you actually have to dig to play your character?
Pretty deep, pretty deep. Rangi Mai goes through grief, heaps of grief. She's then taken by this Pākehā, she's wounded.
Tu matua kai kone koe?
Kare kore kua rango nei. I knew it was a Māori role, you know, back in those days, iawara. But what's important to me is portraying characters like Rangi Mai, who are, I guess, an embodiment of what our tupuna went through. So, koe apea.
Te Oriori has a Bachelor of Arts from Tui Whakaari. She scored jobs quickly. She's worked on Whina, The Hunt for the Wilder People, and Cousins.
I'd like to introduce one of our honour students, Makarita Pairama.
It's Pairama.
The Convert catapulted her to the glamour of the red carpet and the opportunity to meet, then work with international superstars.
What's do you want?
I ask that you spare the lives of these people.
Choose.
I cannot make that choice.
Guy Pearce, he was the man. He was the man. I loved working with Guy. He tino tauira ia māku, I roto I te ao kiriata. Even though I didn't really know him, I had watched him on Iron Man. And Mum and Dad had seen him on all these other films, so I think they were buzzing more than me.
How are you managing the transition from ringawira at your marae to this international star?
I don't know how I did it. I actually don't know how Te Ore transitioned into this, you know? I think quite ahua wai a haere ki nei mo mahi te mahi ngā iwi, but at the same time, I'm still getting nervous. I especially get nervous doing live interviews. And I rongo tonu a te kohe mā rau ko Desma you know, a ka kare aro tō.
Tā tātou nei, ta māhine, moko puna, te tuahine nei. She is, I say this with so much, like, love. She has no idea how good she actually is. And I hope she never finds out how good she actually is, so that she can continue to walk around in this blissful world of going, oh, is that good enough? Because I believe that once she gets to a stage where she can 100% harness her ability, oh yeah, watch out. Watch out.
And watch out too for Te Kohe Tūhaka, the actor, director and producer. He flipped roles and was a co-producer for The Convert, connecting with local hapu on location and bringing a real Māori focus to set life.
So we had a reo wana. So I've been a part of how many productions here in Aotearoa and never have the production organised a reo wana. I organised a 2-day reo wana, not just for the cast, the Māori cast, but the entire cast, Māori mai, Pākehā mai, and the crew. And I looked at it as this is a moment to stand together shoulder to shoulder. Like, carrying the producer title can sometimes feel like, oh, well, Te Kohe's up there now and we're over here. He's got his office over here and we're anei tātou ngā kaimahi I kone. But I can't operate like that. I need to operate to know that I'm a person who likes to work collaboratively. So I was the hoha who was always in the workshop going, oh, can I try on that costume? Even though I'm not playing that character, I'll try it on anyway. And go around and tutu and have a look tactile, kōrero.
In front of the camera since he was a teenager, Te Kohe stands out in Tamatu. He was deadly in the Deadlands.
Oh, sorry.
And Vegas.
Arihia.
Uncle Uramu, hi.
And Love and Monsters.
It's an impossible journey.
Te Kohe has enjoyed success locally and internationally.
Tirohea tō tama, e tāne.
Now he's creating significant stories about Aotearoa.
If I'm to be honest, when I read The Convert, it wasn't like, oh, I go, oh yeah, I know these stories.
We're surrounded by savages of the most barbaric kind.
Director Lee Tamahori has critics raving about his cinematic expertise.
I've worked with Lee a couple of times now, and his style is very direct. So it's not direct to the point where you can sometimes feel, oh, am I getting a growling? It's more like he's set the shot up so that you just do what you do. Don't do anything more than what got you the role. And so he sets it up that way. And so when he's happy, he just moves on. The man moves on. So he's got stamina and he's just absolute bloody genius, that man.
Te Kohe also worked on Jason Momoa's epic Chief of War.
I fanboy a lot. Like, I've worked with Tim for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've known Cliffy for a long time. But Cliffy and I have only really gotten to know each other in our mahi through our time on Chief of War. Because we're both in Chief of War. The three of us are actually in Chief of War. So, and they play two Ali'i and I play Jason's younger brother. So the four of us together is pretty hilarious. But it's about sharing knowledge and sharing spaces and talking about what is it that we as a group of industry leading men can do to help grow our industries for our people. We do not lack story in Polynesia. We do not lack the stories, we do not. But what we do lack is the bravery to think scale. to be brave enough to write it how it should be shot. And if it means you write, he arrives with 10,000 soldiers on a beach ready to destroy him, then that's what it means. Because after that, you just got to go on the journey to believe that somebody one day will go, yep, cool, let's make that. Because everybody wants to see that, right?
A Māori collaboration looks likely with his filming mates, including Ngāti Morrison, Cliff Curtis and Jason Momoa.
What is your next big step? Putting a Māori up in the Marvel business?
I'm still waiting for Marvel to give me a phone call. From an actor's perspective, I think that's, I'm always going to shoot for that. I'm a kid who loved all of those stories, and with the way that everything's been created now with the Marvels, the DCs of the world, you know, why wouldn't I want to be a part of that universe?
Te Kohe says his superpower is his Māori culture and his genuine commitment to make the film industry less cutthroat and more accessible for young Māori.
The thing that I needed to be brave about was, one, being brave enough to acknowledge the fact I've never done this before. But my role as one of the co-producers was to look after the cultural content. And I went, well, I know how to do this. Because he Māori ahai, I tipu Māori mai ki ngā rekereke o Mātou nei, o waku kaumātuna. Ko te reo taku reo tuatahi, ko te reo Pākehā taku te reo tuarua.
He's also super confident if he played a superhero like one of the Māori gods, such as Tangaroa, he'd win the battle.
Oh, some Tangaroa. Is he a Tangaroa though? I feel like he's a bit of a Tāne Māheta. I don't know.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Knowing him, he'll probably make up his own character, jump on there, and he'll probably have powers that can do anything and everything. Tōna momo.
I think there's room, scope and scale for us, ki konei ki Aotearoa, to take a Māui and turn it into a Marvel. I know it's a money business as well, but you can't make, money don't mean anything if you don't have story. And we've got the stories. So we just got to continue to be brave enough and come together to be able to go, oh, me, Tim, Cliff, Jason, should we make it, eh?
Well, I think we should do a Māori version of Barbie and Te Kohe. You can be the Māori Ken, brother. You can be the Māori Ken. Hoi anō e tiwi, just so you know, The Convert is in theatres now, so go and check it out. That's Marae for this week, and the team will be back with you next week. Noho ora mai. Kia ora tātou.
Ko te reo, te take.